Okay, so we're now going to shift to talking about time tracking in Workday, and absence in Workday. So before we do that, is there anything else from talent or career that we can see, talk about? Any questions? Okay. All right. So we're going to start by talking about entering time in Workday, but I do want everybody to understand that in Workday, time tracking and recording your absence are two separate things. Not everybody will be recording time in Workday. Not everybody will be requesting time off in Workday. So it's dependent on who you are and really what you're doing today. If you are a time tracking employee at BYU today, then you will be doing this in Workday. If you're not, you will not be doing it in Workday. You might have to approve time, but if you don't time track today, you won't do it in Workday. If you are an employee who doesn't record or have to record their sick or vacation time, you will not be doing that in Workday. You will not be using the absence application. If you do, then you will be using the absence application. Okay. So we're going to start with talking about time. This first couple of slides, how we're starting is from the perspective of the employee who is entering time. Okay. So if you are a time tracking employee, you will enter, track, and submit your time using the time application. The time application looks like this. It's like a little clock right here. And that will be on your menu from the home page. That's your application. It's not on the worker profile. It's not a tab on the worker profile. It's an application that you'll use. Most time tracking employees will use the check-in feature, this punch clock check-in, check-out feature from the time application. You can enter in time via time blocks, and we'll see what that is, but I think the vast majority will be using check-in and check-out. Yes?
Now, are they going to keep the kiosk machines? Will that work with?
So there are three ways that you can check in or enter your time in Workday. One is the web browser, like you guys are all on today. You can also use the Workday mobile application. I highly recommend you guys download that so you have that. You can use there are a lot of self-service features, including entering time. So the application is the second way. The third way are the wall clocks that you currently have. So you can use that and it will integrate and update your timesheet in Workday. That's entering time. So there are three ways to enter time. To accurately record your time. So you'll check in and check out. One of those three ways could be the wall clock, punch in and punch out, and that's going to record on an employee's timesheet. All right, so the timesheet looks like this back here. When you punch in and punch out, it'll look kind of like this. When you check in, you'll have the name of the worker, when they checked in, the time type. For most people, it will be one time type. And then if they have multiple positions, it will ask you to select the position in which you are entering the time for. If you only have one position, that field won't be there. And then you'll hit OK.
Currently, you can change the name of the students' jobs so that they're not so similar, so it's easier for them to clock in, know which one to clock in and clock out.
You can't change the name of students' jobs. You could change the business title, but that doesn't pull here. It's the position. So they'll only see the position.
So they have two Jesus jobs. It's going to show two jobs. How do they which one to call it?
We will look at Wonder Woman who has two jobs, so you can see what it shows. They're both training jobs. Yeah. So then editing timesheets. Time tracking employees will have the ability to edit their timesheet. So if they forgot to clock out and they need to clock out, they can edit that timesheet. If they clocked in and then they realized they had to run home and they clocked out and they needed to delete that time block from their timesheet, they can also do that. So they have the ability to update and edit their timesheet as they need so that it's accurate. Questions on that? Reviewing and submitting your timesheet. Again, this is still from the perspective of the time tracking employee. Employees are now going to be required to submit their timesheet by the end of the pay period, but best practice is end of the week on Friday each week. Submitting can be done in two ways. So you can submit your timesheet via the Workday desktop like we have today in training, or the application. You can't submit your time via a wall clock. You can only enter your time via the wall clocks. So we want you to make sure that your employees, or if you are a time tracking employee, that you are submitting that time by the end of each Friday. There might be, depending on your department or your area, there might be some nuances or changes to that, and we understand that. But best practice is end of the week on Friday. Yes.
Now, okay, so I understand it's on Friday, by the end of work on Friday, okay, I was out of town and I didn't have access to my email or my time clock. Can I come back and do that on Monday when I get back?
There are two things you could do there. You could come back and enter it on Monday. You could also have your manager submit that time on your behalf. Yeah.
If we were gonna we were out of town on Friday, could they submit it and they're not working Wednesday,
Yep.
Thursday, Friday? They can
Yes, so
submit on
if
Tuesday.
they're done on Tuesday, then they can submit their time on Tuesday
Okay.
by Friday.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Correcting time. So employees have the ability to edit a time entry. They can also delete time entries, and they will do all of that via their timesheet. They can only do that in the app or on the desktop. So you cannot correct on the wall clocks. Has to be done in Workday. If you're making an edit to something that's already been submitted, you will have to resubmit. Not everything will have to go back through the approval process. It will just be the pieces that you corrected that will have to go back through the approval process. But if you're editing a timesheet and you submit it, your manager will still see the entire timesheet. They'll just only be asked to approve what you have edited. Only the employee and payroll can edit or correct time. Managers can't do that.
So students won't be able to,
Students,
so I cannot fix students' time.
you cannot fix a student's time. A student can fix their own time. Yes.
Did I understand you correctly? If you submit your timesheet, say on Tuesday, but then you end up working on Thursday,
You can go back and enter
or you
time.
still can.
Yes, you can. No, your manager can't do it, so you will have to do it.
Even though you submitted your timesheet.
Even though you submitted your timesheet, yeah. So timesheets are gonna be essentially open. As of right now, they're kind of open. So you should get in a habit of submitting your time by the end of each week, or if you're done working, like you work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But if something happens and you have to go back and edit it or add more time, you can do that even though you've already submitted. But it has to be from that employee. Yes.
So how late can you make those adjustments?
For right now, it is pretty wide open. I think it is a 2-year period that they're allowing people to edit timesheets. Payroll will work with retroactive pay to pay people correctly for corrections that have been made on past pay periods. That probably is safe harbor and will not be the case forever. They will probably lock that down so you can't go back that far and edit. Other questions? Yes.
Students themselves can edit their timesheet.
Anybody who tracks time can go and edit their timesheet. I think for the most cases, it will be students. Managers cannot do that.
So really,
But
it has to be
managers.
The student has to do it.
the employee.
Has to be the employee.
I guess some of them are changing, but. Or maybe you'll be explaining it, but do managers or whoever gets to kind of review it and approve it?
Yes. Okay. So time tracking methods, we'll take a look at what time blocks mean. For the most case, students will be using the time clocks. Their time type will be pretty much regular hours. And they can edit time, so that's not right. Staff can use the time clocks. They can also use time blocks, which we'll talk about, and you'll see that in the system. And then staff exempt, if you are somebody who time tracks like against a project, you'll probably be using the block feature rather than the time clock. All right. So now let's talk about managers. So this is managers and time tracking. All right, so the student or the time tracking employee has entered their time in Workday. What will happen is the managers are going to be required to approve that time. So time tracking employees submit their time. They enter their time throughout the week. They've corrected their timesheet. They submit it. It goes to the manager. The manager will have to review and approve it. They'll get an inbox task. It's called the time entry approval. It'll look like that. They'll click on it. It'll open up. It will not be in the view of the timesheet. It will show you the total hours worked for the week. It will show you what you need to approve. So if it's just the whole timesheet, that's what you'll see. If it's a correction on a timesheet, that's what you'll see. But you can still go back and see everything they've submitted for the week, even if it's just a correction. You will review it. You have the option to send it back with a comment. So if you think that something is off and they need to fix something, you send that back with what they need to change. And then you approve it, and that will route it to payroll. Yes.
Can this manager approval be delegated?
So, yes, it can be delegated. It should not be delegated unless you are unable to complete that task for a specific period of time. You're going on vacation and you need to delegate time entry approval so that people are still getting paid in a timely fashion to somebody else, then yes. If you are somebody who approves time and you don't want to approve time, so you want to delegate it to somebody else on an ongoing basis, that you won't be allowed to do, and the security team will be auditing that, and then they will come and talk to you. Yes.
I'm just trying to do something, they said in another training session, we can only delegate up, but we can't delegate down. For example, if we have student accountants to help us, we couldn't delegate that to a student accountant.
So technically, you can delegate down. Workday's not going to stop you from delegating down. When you delegate to somebody, you are giving them your security access. You give them access to your inbox. You give them access to your Workday account. So if you delegate down to somebody and you have something in your inbox that's like a compensation review, when they go into your inbox to approve that time entry, they're going to see that compensation approval. Also, if you give them access to start processes on your behalf, they'll have that also available to them. So that's why the best practice is to only delegate to peers and above. There's one exception to that, and we will talk more about delegations. I think I mentioned this last week. Later, we might have somebody from the security team come in and talk. If not, I can talk more about it. So there's one exception to delegations that can be on an ongoing basis. Time entry approval is not one of them. So if they see that you are delegating time to somebody every 2 weeks, you're delegating a task to somebody every 2 weeks, they're going to come and talk to you. If they see that you are, delegating that particular task with an end date of a year, they're going to come and talk to you. They'll be watching that. Yeah.
I'm just,
There is a security team and they will be audited. So then they're going to be watching, so they have answers to questions before they're audited. Yeah.
the reason I brought that up is because there are some faculty members who are now managers and TAs
Mm-hmm.
that I can foresee it will be difficult getting them to do that approval process.
Yes. Yep. So there are fail-safes in Workday so that if managers aren't approving time, their employees will still be paid. But that will also be audited. And if they're not doing it, I'm sure they're going to have a conversation with somebody at some point that they're not doing what they need to be doing. So yeah, it's going to be a change. Mm-hmm.
So does that fail-safe kick in the first time it happens or after a week after they're delinquent? Or?
So I don't know how payroll is planning to, I don't know what cadence payroll is planning to do this, but there is essentially a mass approve. So payroll can push time entry forward if managers aren't doing it so that it can get paid. They will probably be doing that on a very significant basis at the beginning, but this whole process will be monitored to make sure that people are doing what they're supposed to be doing when they're supposed to be doing it. But yes, if managers aren't, they will know that, but the students will still get paid. Yeah. All right. So managers will need to approve their time. If a manager wants to submit time on their student's behalf or their time tracking employee's behalf because the student hasn't done that, they entered their time, but they haven't submitted it, they can navigate to the worker's profile, that person's profile, click on actions. They'll hover over time and absence, just right there. And then they'll hit enter time. It's a little confusing because managers can't actually enter in time for their direct reports. They can only submit it. But what that will do is it will take them straight to their timesheet. So managers can see the whole employee's timesheet. They can go back and look at previous timesheets if they need to. Then they would hit review and submit the same way the student would. So they can submit it, they just can't enter or correct it. Questions on that?
Manager can-
Yes.
Is there a function to send it, like if, even if the employee has reviewed and the manager sees a problem, is there a way to send it back and say, you only work this many hours, please fix that?
Yes. Do you have a question?
I'm just thinking of a department with tons of faculty.
Yeah.
Is there a way for that department chair or that director to make more of a lateral delegation and say, okay, here, you know, to the associate director or the associate chair or whatever, saying, I really need help with this specific part of all of the responsibilities I have to do.
Mhm.
So it's not like we're, you know, delegating to a student or someone. It's someone that has, you know, tenured and has been hired to help offload some of the dean's or the director's responsibilities. Is there any way that that person could help with some of these things that Lane just and Brian just brought up? If, you know, faculty just aren't doing it, instead of going directly to the head honcho, the person, the head honcho has, you know, asked for help.
So I have to look at that scenario in Workday. How it works right now is if you go to your org chart and you see whoever's underneath you, if they are time tracking employees, there is no way to redirect that time entry approval to somebody else within the supervisory organization for that approval. You would have to physically move those people underneath somebody else, and that would reroute that time approval. But that also reroutes everything else. Everything that goes to the manager,
It's all or nothing. Okay.
it reroutes it. So there might be changes in structure that way for this. I don't know how that's going to play out. I know there have been lots of people who have said, you know, I have 200 students underneath me. I don't know how I'm going to approve 200 students' time every week. That is a valid concern. And they're looking into that and trying to maybe how to move students around so that not every student time entry is going to one person, like in a situation like that. But from a Workday perspective, if you have 200 people underneath you and they all 200 enter time, right now, all of their time is going to that person. If you delegate it, all 200 will also go to that person. You can't delegate only this person's, you know, time entry goes here. You can't delegate it that way, but you essentially could delegate it so somebody else can help with it. But right now we're not supposed to be doing that. That will be watched.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about the load for
Yeah.
chairs. I mean, every chair and every dean that I've known,
Mhm.
you know, they already have, you know, work overflowing. You know,
Yeah.
Their teaching load and then the additional admin load. And so I'm just concerned about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've heard that a lot. I know that has been brought up kind of through the chain here. So they are, you know, there are conversations, they are looking into that. They're going to monitor that, so that, you know, the hope is that not anybody, you know, nobody feels like they have a massive amount more of work to enter or approve time. But in Workday right now, this is how it works. Other questions? Okay. Well, feel free to ask them. All right. So we're going to look at how this works in Workday right now. So we'll go through this. We won't have you do this because I don't know how many people here actually enter time. So we're just going to have a demo on time tracking today. All right. So We're gonna start as Wonder Woman. Okay. So Wonder Woman is an hourly employee and she has to check her time. So she's gonna go into Workday, then she's gonna go to her applications. Remember, applications are from your menu icon. And here is the time application. So we'll click time. She's gonna come down here to her time clock and this is where she's gonna select check in. She's checking in for the day to start her work. So she'll hit check in. Workday's automatically pulling in who she is, right? She's Wonder Woman, she's checking in. The date is October 24th. The time down to the second is recorded. So she checked in at 10:15, 34 seconds, right? The time type is regular hours. She doesn't have anything else to select there. It defaults in for her for regular hours, but here's where she would select a different position. So she has this position and this position. It has the manager's name in the position as well, the supervisory organization. So that would be a differentiator for them to know what I'm selecting, what position I'm clocking in and out for. This does default to your primary position. So if you have multiple positions, the one that is primary is the one that's going to default here.
How is that determined?
Your primary position is technically your first position that you held. You can switch it though. So if you are clocking in more for one position and you want that to be primary, you can switch your, well,
You as the employee would
you
switch
as the employee cannot. You as an HR business partner or ops specialist can. I don't think managers can do that either. They'd have to contact somebody to do that for the employee, but you can switch it. Okay? All right. She can enter a comment if she wants to about what she's doing. That's not required. And then she'll hit OK. She is successfully checked in. We're going to go ahead and hit done. I'm going to go over to Hannah now. And we'll click OK. All right, now Hannah already checked in. Okay, so Hannah needs to check out. So Hannah's gonna go to her time application again from the menu, from her menu, and here she's gonna check out. It lets her know I've already checked in at 8:33 this morning, so now I need to check out. When you check out, you really don't have anything else for you to enter except for a comment if you want to. Again, not a required field here. She's done, she's gonna hit OK. This is going to give her the option to view her calendar if she wants to. We're going to hit done so I can show you how to get to your timesheet outside of that. So Hannah now, yes,
Sorry.
that's okay.
When you said that they could put in something in the comment field,
Yes.
does that comment field show in their time?
Yes. And it would show when the manager goes to approve something.
If they change the time and then we edit it, maybe put that there.
Yeah. Yep. So we'll look at, we're going to,
Is it required?
what?
If they edit a time?
I don't think it's required if they edit, but we can see. So we're going to go ahead now. We're going to look at her timesheet and we can make some edits to Hannah. So her timesheet is going to be right. This is the one for this week. It tells me she's worked 20 and a half almost hours here. So we're going to click on her timesheet. Here is the time that she's worked this week. We can see it in these blocks. All right. So on Monday, she started work at 8:51 a.m. until 2:52. She clocked out and then she worked again for another hour and a half-ish. If she wanted to edit something on here, she can also see that all of the time blocks on this card have not been submitted. It says that, not submitted. She wants to edit her time, she'll click into the time. This is where she can edit the time in or time out if she needs to. And then she can enter in her comment. So if we want to say she clocked out at 3.
Let's show that it's been edited.
No, it won't show that it's been edited. If an employee edits something that has already been submitted, that will show. Yeah.
They're editing certain.
If they're editing, it's not necessarily before the pay period, it's only if they've submitted. Yeah. So if they submit and then they have to go back to correct and it's before the pay period, you know that. Yeah. All right. So we're gonna click OK to this edit. Her time card has now updated. This is when she needs to review and submit, right? So this is how it gets routed to her manager and then to payroll. So she'll hit this review button over here. She can see her time. So she worked 33 regular hours. If she had overtime, it would show there. If you are somebody who is a time tracking employee, but you also record your sick and vacation time, you will see that here if you did have a sick day or you did take a day off. That time will also pull into here so you can see that. When she's ready to submit it, she will hit submit. She's done for the week. She's not working tomorrow. And now it routes to Max Manager for approval. Yes.
Sorry, I'm back on the comment field again.
Mm-hmm.
So are you saying that inside of one of these blocks here, just like the Monday block was large there, it's gonna show that comment field in that block, or you have to press on it and see the other?
You have to open it to see the comment. Yeah. But we'll take a look at, we're going to take a look at the timesheet via the manager's perspective. Now, I don't have a comment in here for her, so let's just go ahead and do that. We're going to do a test comment so you can see. We'll click OK. She made an update, so she now has that review button again. So she's going to resubmit it. And it's just going to go back to Max. Okay? Yes.
When they work over the midnight hour, what is it, if they forget to clock out and they're trying to edit it here? Would they then be putting in the next day?
They would edit their time to make it correct. So if they forgot to clock out and they were just in and they came to work and it was like, oh, you only have the checkout feature because you haven't checked out from the day before, they would check out, they would edit that time block, and then they could check in again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think my real question is if they are working over the midnight hour,
Okay.
let's say they clock in at 11:15.
It won't clock them out.
And then if they forget to clock out, they would go back into that same time block.
Mhm.
They would need to change the day because now if they finish working at 1:30 in the morning, it's gonna be a different day.
Yeah, they might need to enter in, they might need to, they might need to enter in another block for the time that it crossed over to the next day. But if they truly worked that time and they check out over the next day, that would stay as one time block. Does that make sense? So when you're correcting a time like that, you might need to enter in 2 blocks and correct it yourself. But if they're doing it correctly and they truly worked over the time, they would check in, check out as normal, and that will stay as one block. It'll just show, it'll be broken up on the timesheet because the timesheet's broken up by days. Yeah. Yes.
Are there any fail-safes in the system to keep them from working 12 hours plus or to have short duration clock outs like that one on Monday
Mm-hmm.
violates university policy because it's 2:52 and back in at 3 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an 8-minute punch out.
Yeah.
And we have to go in and delete those if they have them.
So that would be something the manager would look for, and the manager would send it back, and the employee would have to update.
So manager's gonna need to know policies.
It won't stop the employee from submitting that time. Okay, so let's look at Max. All right, so Max has that time entry approval from Hannah, so he's gonna click on that. He will open it up, and this is where he can see her time for the week. These are the entries he needs to approve. He needs to approve, well, it looks like she updated Monday, 10/14, so he has to approve that one
How do you know she updated it?
because he's already approved that week. She's got 10/17, 10/18. These are all of the unapproved times that are out there. So he sees all of it. Does that make sense?
in his list, it's unapproved.
If it's in his list under entries to approve, it's unapproved. So he has to look out for here.
So, but yet, so like on Tuesday, the 15th and the 16th, those days are already approved, right?
Up
Or
here,
they didn't work those days.
where?
It goes from the 14th to the 17th. My guess is they didn't work those days.
Yes. So she doesn't have anything in there for those days.
What I'm saying is, you said there was a time that she edited.
I actually don't know if she edited those or if those just were something that weren't approved. It's outstanding for her to get approval on those. So she sees them. He sees them here. Yes.
Okay.
So when the time ends with the 0 seconds, you can be pretty sure they edited that.
Yeah, you could. Or they could have used time blocks, but yeah, they probably edited that. Yeah. So he's seeing all of the hours that she has submitted that are outstanding. This is for 2 weeks. This isn't just for 1 week. This is 2 weeks. That looks like she has not submitted time. All right? He can approve that, and then it routes to payroll to be paid for the hours that she's worked. Let's come back here. Is there a question?
Okay, so, and maybe this is just, I've been doing this for so many years. With faculty doing approving, there's no way that I can see, hey, you did this wrong. I can't go review their clock in because I'm not their manager.
It won't route to you for anything if you're not their manager. I can look to see if you, as an HR admin, can look at somebody's timesheet within your supervisory organization. That I don't know.
Okay.
You won't be able to enter on their behalf. I don't believe you definitely won't be able to correct on somebody's behalf. I would have to see if you can view.
Okay. Alrighty, that'd be good to know.
All right. So Max is going to go to Hannah's timesheet. Search for his, he can search for his worker. He can also come down here and find her. So he found her in his team highlights because she is a direct report of his. He's going to come here to actions. Scroll down to time and absence. This is where he'll hit enter time. We're going to click OK. And here he can see her timesheet. If she hadn't submitted this, he would see that review button right here, just like we saw on her timesheet, and he could hit review and submit. He goes into the time block. He can see the comment that we entered. He can see the hours that were recorded. He just can't edit them.
Can they pull up, like if they have 6 students, can they pull up all 6 students at once?
They can't pull up timesheets like that all at once. However, there is a report, and unfortunately not in BYU 11, that will let you view time for your whole team, and that will be in the My Team Management, and there is a way to approve time based on that report and group. So you can do it that way. You have to do it as a group of, if you have a mix of employees who are exempt and non-exempt, you'll only be able to, I guess, group approve exempt and then group approve non-exempt, but you can do that, and that's via the My Team Management. It's just not here yet.
Okay.
Yes.
So someone has to approve exempt employees pay too?
If you are an exempt employee who tracks time against, say, a project, then and you're a time tracked employee that way, that will have to go through approval. Yes. I don't think there are as many of those. If you don't track time now, you won't in Workday. If you do, for some reason, you will in Workday. Was there a question over here?
Will these go to them in their task field, or does it come to report in an email? Like, how will the managers be notified that these need to be done?
It will be in their My Tasks in Workday, so they will immediately get that notification. I believe that they have turned off the email notification so that you're not getting an email every time somebody enters time. And I think that was due to, manager sanity. So you're not getting an email every time somebody enters in or corrects a timesheet. So you will go to Workday and you'll see that in your inbox immediately. Yeah. That's how they'll be notified. It will be right there. Other questions?
I think it-
All right.